Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Perry. On my channel, we talk about all things healthy living, exercising, nutrition, recipes, entrepreneurship, marriage. To be honest, I'm really just kind of trying to figure out like what I like filming and what you guys, my viewers like to watch. So at this point, it's kind of a mishmash of stuff, but I'm having fun with it. So I'm just gonna keep rolling. So today I kind of wanted to talk about the differences between plant-based eating and vegan eating, because I feel like there's a lot to learn about both, and there's a lot of chatter about both, and people kind of have their own opinions and stuff around the both of them. Some people may think that they're the same thing, but they actually are not. So I just kind of wanted to dive into that today and kind of just riff off a little bit of like my knowledge around it and what I think, and then maybe you can kind of do a bit of your own research and form your own opinions and maybe try it out a little bit for yourself and see how you feel. I've been vegan for like 7 years or so, and then I was vegetarian about 2 years before that. So I haven't been a meat eater in quite a while. I've learned a lot, and I feel like I've kind of like gone on different areas of the spectrum because it's just such a lifestyle change and there's so much to learn and so many different ways to implement it. But I really ultimately overall love it and recommend it to anyone that's open to it, I guess, because it might not, work for everybody. So vegan eating, in case you're not like completely clear, is eating foods that do not come from an animal, that are not an animal and do not come from an animal. So no meat, most people know that, no dairy, we do not eat eggs, and we do not eat honey. Most people don't eat honey. I'm not as strict about honey, but I know some people are very passionate about eating honey, and some people are very passionate about not eating honey. So, there's another kind of thing there. But yeah, so just pretty much like just not using animals as a source of food, basically. And so with that being said, you can be on a vegan diet and eat a lot of processed foods, which is kind of where I found myself at one point. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But then we've got plant-based eating, which is having the majority of your nutrition come from plants. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily don't eat meat or dairy or eggs at all. So the plant-based area, I kind of have liked to talk about that a little bit more with my coaching, because I feel like it kind of opens the door for more people to give it a try and just start to feel the benefits for themselves without feeling so much pressure. Going back on my journey, I ended up going vegan ultimately for ethical purposes. People go vegan for different reasons. There are animal ethics, where you don't believe that it's fair to really use animals and stuff for anything. People go vegan for health purposes because they've read the science, they've learned about the research, and they believe that that is the best way to promote health within their bodies and within themselves. And some people go vegan for sustainability purposes because it has less like damage on the environment and things like that. So I ultimately went vegan for ethical purposes. I was just like, okay, I don't want to eat animals anymore. I don't want to support factory farming anymore. Stop eating things that contain dairy. And that has been the most challenging thing, I would say, for me personally. Some people, it's no big deal at all. And then yeah, I was just like, that's what I'm gonna start with. I don't wanna eat animals anymore. That transition was pretty easy. To just stop eating meat was no big deal. The dairy thing took me some time, and I still to this day eat dairy here and there. If it's just either more, I don't know, I guess it's kind of hard to explain, because if you hung out with me and my family, like you'd see that primarily I don't eat dairy. I just know in the back of my mind, I don't feel as good when I consume it, and just as principle, I don't believe that it's fair to use a female cow to get her pregnant, to then have a baby, to then take the baby away, to then hook her up to pumps and pump her milk out, and then use her milk for things for us humans to consume. The more that you learn more about it, the more research you do, you're like, damn, that's fucked up, kind of. So the principle I don't agree with. Now, in terms of me living my life and going out into the world and being social, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is like pizza. If you go to a pizza joint, they might have pizza or breadsticks or salad. And so for me, just for my enrichment in my life, to just eat a salad would be kind of a bummer, right? So it's kind of in those instances where I'd be like, all right, I'll have a piece or two of cheese pizza. But I still call myself vegan because at the end of the day, I know my intentions, I know what I believe, and I know what I do 98% of the time. And that's what makes the biggest difference in the world and in life in general. In my opinion, somebody else who's super hardcore vegan might call me a fraud or something. I don't know, but I've never really had anybody around me view it in a negative light. So to anyone out there that feels like they would like to be vegan, but they're afraid that they can't stick to it 105% of the time, I just want you to have a little bit of grace with yourself and just kind of open your mind a little bit and just realize that just by even making the effort 95% of the time, like that's gonna make such a big difference in the world. And it's gonna be people like us that kind of inspire others to make the try and to make the transition and just kind of start putting more intention behind what we're eating. So at the beginning of my journey, I went vegetarian. You know, I did like a year or two of that. And then I really started learning more about the dairy industry and I was like, okay, it's time to go vegan. Like now is the time, now or never. And I kind of went all the way to the other end of the spectrum. I was learning more about whole foods and even like the raw vegan diets and things like that. And so I was really eating a lot of fresh foods. I would literally eat like, I remember I tried, when I first went vegan, it was when I quit my job working in research and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd gone to college, got my bachelor degree, 6 years of my life, you know, I studied biology. I got this beautiful bachelor's degree in biology and I thought I was gonna apply to medical school. And I decided I didn't want to live that lifestyle. I had shadowed some doctors finally, and I had been in the hospital a lot. And I was like, actually, this isn't for me. I don't know. Like, I want to help people, but not if it comes at the loss of me and the way that I'm gonna like be living my life day to day, basically. So, you know, I just poured my heart and soul into my 6 years at college, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I don't even know what else to say. Like, it just fucking sucked, basically. It was a pretty low point in my life because I had the thoughts like, oh, biology might not be for me, like 3-4 years into my degree, but I wanted to prove it to myself that I could finish up the degree and like move forward. And then I did graduate and I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely don't want to do this. So anyways, I started working at a casino dealing blackjack for like 6 months. And in that time and in that transition, I was like, all right, you know what? I finally graduated college. I'm coming to this random job that I actually don't know anything about. Yeah, I was like, let's do this vegan thing. So I was eating like raw, or exactly what it's called, but like tons of raw food and mostly whole foods and no really processed foods. I remember taking like half a watermelon with me to work at the casino and like putting it in my locker and then getting it out on one of my breaks and like just eating half a watermelon for a meal. I would get these like wraps that was like lettuce, tomato, and like mustard from the lunch line, and I lost all kinds of weight. My pants weren't staying up and it was just a really weird time. And after being someone who, this would be a whole nother video if you care to hear it or want, maybe I could share, I don't know, but just coming up and then wanting to like lose weight and stuff after college because I had gained weight and life changes and whatever. I thought it was this big deal that I'd gained so much weight. And then I was doing this new diet of just like all raw foods, totally vegan, whatever, and losing so much weight. I was like, oh, that was kind of rewarding in a sense. I was like, this is nice. But mentally, I wasn't happy. I missed kind of like having some savory meals. I missed like fats in my nutrition. My periods were being kind of weird. And now looking back, I think it was because I wasn't getting, you know, a balanced meals of protein, carbs, and fat. I was mostly just getting carbs and some protein. So there were a lot of things that were like funny in my body and that, you know, had me kind of start thinking ahead. Like, is this something that I truly want to stick to? Am I enjoying myself? How do I feel? Like, I started asking myself these questions outside of just like, what does the scale say? And what do I look like? Like, that started becoming less important to me then. That was like the first moment, was kind of the end of that phase. And then I was wanting to go to cosmetology school, decided the fully raw vegan nutrition was not for me. And so I was like, I obviously still want to be vegan. I'm not eating animals and things like that. But I found myself eating a lot of processed vegan foods at that point. You know, I was eating a lot of the vegan chicken and pasta and vegan sauces. My days at hair school were around 10 hours long, and then I would go to the gym after. So I would like prep a lunch or whatever, or bring a lunch with me to school, but then I would kind of need that second meal before I went to the gym or I'd be so hungry. So I found myself eating a lot of like fast food and not as much cooked at home. So my body started changing yet again because I was paying attention more to how I was feeling. I don't think that the weight gain bothered me too much. I had like mindset struggles because I was like, oh man, I'm about to weigh as much as I used to weigh. Like, oh man, if I gain more weight, like that means that I'm failing or whatever, things like that. Maybe you can kind of relate, but the reality was I wasn't feeling as good. And I also recognized that. I felt sluggish, I felt kind of tired, and I was like, okay, this isn't gonna work either. This kind of sucks too. Felt really at a low again because I was like, man, like I'm trying all these new things. I really want to be vegan. Maybe it's not worth it to be vegan. Like, I don't know what to do. I follow this woman, Bianca Taylor, online. I watch her on YouTube and I started following her on Instagram. And she had mentioned that she got certified in plant-based nutrition through eCornell online. And I remember hearing her say that like at the beginning of my journey. At this point, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. And so I Googled it and I was like, huh, this is really cool. So I signed up for the program. It was like $1,200. I was like, holy shit, draining my little savings account that I had at the time. I was like, but I'm interested. Like, what is this whole thing about? She looks like she's thriving. Like, what's going on? What can I do? What can I learn? What's gonna make me feel better and just feel good in my skin? So I did that certification and it was amazing. It taught a lot about a whole food plant-based diet. I like to call it whole food plant-based nutrition because for me, this isn't a diet. This is like something I'm doing forever, right? You've heard me now transition through a few things. Like I wanna make this work for my life. Like this is the kind of nutrition I wanna do. And it talked a little bit about the first diet that I was kind of doing. This doctor was basically eating a lot of whole foods, but he was also cooking his foods. It was less raw stuff. Obviously, raw foods are amazing for you, but he was also incorporating plenty of cooked meals, home baked meals, all kinds of stuff. But it was primarily plant-based still. And so I was like, okay, this is awesome, but also I still want to be able to eat some of my processed vegan food because that's just what is going to work for me. And it was kind of at that point where I made the decision. I was like, I'm gonna do it both ways. I'm gonna mismatch this all in. And this is just the way that I'm gonna move forward and let's see how it goes. Fast forward, it went awesome. That's what I do to this day is a lot of like plant-based foods, but I also am gonna eat like vegan chicken and like stuff like that because it just makes it feel more real in my opinion. It makes it feel less of like some fancy diet I'm doing and it makes it feel more like a true lifestyle for me. Yeah, so that was pretty much that. There were other struggles along the way with like how much I was eating and not really being in tune with myself and following a lot of other diets along with my like vegan eating. But maybe that's another video too, because I don't want it to be too long. Basically now I intuitively eat. No more calorie counting or macro counting or carb cycling or intermittent fasting, none of that, right? I eat intuitively based off of what I feel like I'm hungry for, what I feel like I need because of how my day looks, what I'm gonna be getting into and things like that. So that's been really freeing. I highly, highly recommend you to look into intuitive eating because I think it's how humans were meant to eat. It just makes sense to me. There are so many benefits to eating more whole foods and getting more like nutrient dense foods into your life, basically. I think a lot of us have a hard time like slowing down and really putting intention behind what we're eating and what we're fueling up with. And I feel like ultimately if we just slow down a little bit and just do the bare minimum, like add in a fruit every day, add in a vegetable every day, like one fruit, one vegetable. A lot of people don't even do that much. As I've seen in my coaching and I've been doing research calls to kind of like work on my nutrition program, I'm hearing that a lot of people aren't even doing the bare minimum for themselves. And it makes me so sad because it's not that hard really. Like anybody can throw an apple in their bag or eat a banana with breakfast. Throw a handful of veggies into your dinner and call it a day, whatever it is, whether you're eating a taco or a bowl of pasta or whatever, put some veggies in there. Because just intentionally doing that little bit, you know, some people are like, oh, Bree, is that even gonna make a difference? Well, there's 7 days in a week and 365 days in a year, so that's like better than zero, you know, so, but yeah, just building that small habit in general and setting that foundation of consistency opens up the door to doing a little bit more. Because if you can consistently do the one fruit and the one vegetable, well, then that builds your confidence, and that kind of proves to yourself that maybe you could even do a little bit more on top of that. Maybe you could try to cook a whole recipe that includes like 2 or 3 vegetables in it or whole foods, and kind of go from there. Like I said, you are supposed to eat proteins, carbs, and fats with each meal throughout the day. Like, we're supposed to get a little bit of that all day, every day. But there are fats that are more harmful in our bodies, like in our heart, in our veins, in our arteries, like literally just through our body. It clogs things up. Saturated fats, cholesterol. Plant-based foods have neither one of those things. So by including more plants, you're just naturally going to eat less of more fatty things, maybe the cheeses and the, you know, more fatty meats and things like that. Lastly, the 2 things that I'm most pumped about with whole foods are fiber and antioxidants. You hear so much anymore about cancers and just different kinds of diseases and stuff that can be eased up or almost prevented by eating more whole foods, because all these berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, like things that you could put in a smoothie so easy in the morning, have antioxidants in them, and they're going to help your body stay healthy. And I think it's really powerful to think about food that way. Like, I can prevent myself from getting sick. I can prevent myself from becoming diabetic. I can prevent myself from having high blood pressure down the road and feeling like crap every day and having low energy. Like, that's what motivates me anymore. It's not a scale. Standing on a scale tells me nothing about how I feel and what my body is, or like how my body is working and things like that. I've not stood on a scale in 2 years. I do need to go to the doctor, and I am curious what I weigh, but at the end of the day, I feel amazing. So I think that speaks a lot, you know, like I'm able to do my workouts that I love. I'm able to go for walks every day. The food that I eat like fuels me up and makes me feel great. Like, I don't know. So I'm just like really over the scale for one, and am really digging the like plant-based eating. I think it's super powerful, and I really want to just like encourage everyone to give it a try, or just implement like a little bit more whole foods into your nutrition and just see how it changes the way that you feel. Sorry, puppy's barking. So this was a bit more of like a chatty video. You'll have to let me know if you guys enjoy this, like just kind of hearing my truth and hearing my thoughts and stuff like that. You'll have to let me know if you want to hear about me kind of like ditching the diet, moving away from counting macros and calories and just trying all that different crap to lose weight, and moving more into this like intuitive eating, intuitive lifestyle, you know, caring for my body and my health based on how I feel and not how I look. Like, that's been really awesome. So I would love to share that journey if you're interested in hearing. But if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. Like, how fun. Make sure that you subscribe if you want to catch more videos from me, and like this video if you would like more content similar to it. I'll leave my Instagram down below too if you want to see what I'm up to each day, what I'm eating, things like that. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.